Am I the jerk for telling another parent they're wrong to blame my child and expect too much of me when their child is in my home? My daughter Aria, who is 13 years old, has been best friends with Layla, who is also 13 years old, since they went to the same preschool together. They always spend time together and have a larger group of friends, but they know each other the longest and are the closest with each other. Lila's family situation is a little difficult, and her mother went a little crazy on me last week, which led to a conflict. Lila has a blended family. It consists of her mother, her stepfather, some step-siblings, and some half-siblings. Lila has expressed that she does not feel close to them. She always emphasizes that she has no real siblings, and that even her half-siblings are just half-siblings, and they are not her father's children too. I have heard her tell Aria how much it bugs her when people say her step and half-siblings are just siblings, but they do not talk about it too often. Lila's mother showed up at my house last week and blamed Aria for Lila's use of the step and half terms. She said she heard the girls talk about it and say step and half-siblings are not real siblings. She said she knows that must have come from Aria because she has been fighting Lila for years to stop saying step and half. I asked her how that even made sense. She told me Aria must be the source, and I told her Lila says that whether Aria is around or not, and she is wrong to blame Aria for how Lila feels. Lila's mother then told me I should be watching over the girls whenever they are in my home or in my presence, and correcting Lila whenever she uses step, half, or says they are not her real family. I told Lila's mother she could not seriously expect me to listen to them 24/7, so I can correct Lila, and it is too much for her to expect me to do when her child is over to play with mine. She was not happy with me at all. She told me I could not say Aria is not to blame, and in the same breath refused to correct Lila when she says something wrong. She told me I just want to let them get away with saying stuff, and I do not do enough for Lila, even though Lila spends more time at my house than she does her own. In the same breath, Lila's mother said her husband is so sick of Layla refusing to cooperate there, and she needs to be here more so I can correct her. I told her she really is expecting too much. She told me I was a bitch and a shitty person. Am I the asshole? Lila's mom is one of those remarried divorcees who want their child from her previous marriage to happily accept her new husband and family as if they are perfect. It's much easier to correct language than to actually listen and show empathy, which just makes her look like a jerk. The girl is a teenager and knows the terminology. Nobody needs to plant seeds in her head about her family dynamics. Providing a safe space for a child who doesn't have a safe home is what's best for her. Am I the jerk for bringing in a personal visitor to the nursing home I work at to compete at chess with one of the residents? I work at an assisted living facility, which is a nursing home for people who are very elderly and cannot care for themselves. One of the residents in the wing I work at is Josh, a 97-year-old man who has pretty bad cognitive decay. Most of the time, he doesn't remember who I am, who he is, where he is, or what's going on. However, he's a former national chess champion. I know this because the personal effects in his room include some of his trophies and other awards. We've got a few chess sets in the common areas, and if you can wake him up long enough to play, he does still remember how to play. He has defeated most of the staff at one point or another over the board. I have a guy I know who is kind of a friend of a friend. Let's call him Bob, and he's the top player at some local chess association. He is a long way down from a professional player, but he is usually the strongest player in the room. I had mentioned that one of the residents I care for is this former champion, and Bob asked to come by to visit since he is a huge chess enthusiast and wanted to meet a national champion, no matter what kind of state he was in. We allow visitors, so I signed him in, and by good luck it was on one of Josh's better days. They went into one of the common rooms and played chess for 6 hours straight. I wasn't able to stick around to watch most of it, but I talked with Bob afterward. He said that while Josh is clearly not the player he was when he won the national championships, he is still formidable over the board and won a bit over 2/3 of their games. Josh missed dinner, and I had to get into the canteen after hours and make him some scrambled eggs and toast just so he'd have something to eat. During dinner, it was the most animated I had seen him ever. He was talking about his day and definitely remembered what was going on, and how this young punk came to challenge him, and he had to show the kid how it's done. I thought I did a good thing by brightening up a very old, very sick man's day. However, my co-workers have the opposite take, saying that disrupting his schedule and agitating him was a bad thing to do, especially since it caused him to miss his regular dinner. I'm pretty new at this job, so I do value their opinions, but I don't think what I did was wrong. Am I the asshole here, especially if I do it again? You are not in the wrong here. You helped him feel alive again with purpose. This is something that nursing homes should be doing for residents every day. Well done, and keep bringing your creativity and humanity to these wonderful humans. Thank you for going the extra mile to make his day. Am I the jerk for leaving the house unannounced when my parents started fighting with my half-brothers? Last Sunday was my dad's birthday, and my parents and I, a 16-year-old female, were celebrating with my half-brothers, who are my dad's sons from his first marriage, along with their wives and kids. My half-brothers are both in their early 30s. The fight started because one of my dad's grandchildren called my mom by her first name, then pointed at an old family photo of my dad and his first wife with my half-brothers and called his grandmother Gamma, while waving at my half-brother's mom in the photo. For whatever reason, it only clicked with my parents then that my half-brother's kids use my mom's first name and never call her grandma. I always noticed. They only use my name as well, while my other half-brother gets called uncle name. This started a fight where my dad asked why my mom was addressed by her first name and not grandma name, and how a 3-year-old doesn't even call her grandma when she's young enough to naturally call my mom grandma. My half-brother said my mom isn't their grandma, and they never claimed she was. Things started to get really intense from there. My parents and I tried leaving the room, but I could still hear the fight. So I left the house for a couple of hours. When I came back, my half-brothers and their families were gone, and my parents were mad that I'd left unannounced. I told my parents I hadn't wanted to get caught up in the fight. My dad told me I should have stayed and supported my mom because of how difficult that fight was for her. They also said I didn't seem surprised or upset. I explained that I had never heard the kids call her grandma, and I was never called aunt, so it didn't come as a surprise. They told me this was more of a reason to stay and be supportive and stand up for what is right, and how cruel my half-brothers are being and treating us that way. I pointed out how they were never close to me or my mom, but I got shut down. My parents lectured me about how wrong I was to leave like I did. My dad's first wife died when my half-brothers were 5 and 6. My parents met 3 or 4 years later. I was born 1 or 2 years into their marriage. My half-brothers never called my mom or referred to my parents as their parents. It was always our dad and his wife from them. I was always referred to as their half-sister, with the half heavily emphasized. We were never close. I know they went to therapy together before I was born and after. I think you are not in the wrong here. It sounds like they've had their heads in the sand your whole life, ignoring the problem while you were caught in the middle of the family drama. It's not your job to stick up for adults or parent your much older brothers. Even if you stayed, there was nothing you could do to change things. Am I the jerk for being rude to my stepchild and banning them from eating with the family? I have 2 stepdaughters, Scarlett, 18, and Ava, 16. Scarlett is an amazing singer. She has been in some kind of voice lessons since she was 10 and just graduated from one of the best performing arts schools in the state, where she went on a full scholarship since 6th grade. She has a YouTube channel where she sings and is starting to make money from it. She was accepted into some very prestigious music schools. Additionally, she has been working paid gigs for the last 2 years and makes at least $500 $1,000 per week, more in the summers. She has even been the opening artist at a few concerts. I am not trying to brag, I am just saying she is an objectively good singer. Ava, on the other hand, is not a good singer. She likes to believe she is, and she might become one if she actually stuck with voice lessons or choir classes. But she always quits after 1 to 2 weeks because they are bullying her, giving constructive feedback. I have seen the notes her classmates and teachers have given her. Ava also likes to sing very loudly and/or at bad times. For example, if she feels that we are too quiet at the dinner table, she starts to loudly sing. It does not sound good, and I honestly do not know how she does not hear it. If you ask her to stop, she keeps going. If you are blunt and say stop, that does not sound good or that we do not want to hear it, she keeps going and gets even louder just to annoy you. If we are in the car and we do not let her choose the songs, she will loudly sing whatever she wants, not what is playing, to annoy us, and responds the same way to us telling her to stop. The only person she listens to is her father. A few weeks ago, we were trying to eat and she was singing again. I told her to stop and she refused, so I took her plate and told her that from now on she is no longer allowed to eat at my table. She can eat in her room, the backyard, her car, the garage, or wherever she wants as long as we cannot hear her from the dining room. This will continue until she can behave appropriately at the table. My husband and I argued about it, but he is not home for dinner, so there is not much he can do about it. Today she was eating lunch with us and started singing again. I told her to stop and she did not listen, so I again took her plate and told her to eat somewhere where we cannot hear her if she does not want to act appropriately. Ava argued that she is a better singer than Scarlett and that Scarlett sings all the time. I was done with her nonsense, so I asked her how many times someone other than her father has actually asked her to sing, not even paying her to be there, just asking her to sing. Or how many performing arts schools she has gotten accepted to. She has applied to many. She started to cry, and my husband wants me to apologize for being rude to her and is insisting I allow her to eat with the family again. Am I the asshole? It sounds like Ava is acting out because she's envious of her sister and feels overshadowed. It shouldn't be about how good she is at singing, but rather about being disruptive and loud at inappropriate times. Encourage her to follow other pursuits while making sure to praise her efforts in a kind way. If Scarlett is asked to stop singing at the dinner table, then the same should apply to Ava to keep things fair. Am I the jerk for turning down a car from my partner? A few months ago, my car was totaled in a freak accident. Thankfully, no one was hurt, and no one was in the car. We finally settled with insurance, and I'm starting the car buying process again. I decided that since my old car was very basic, I wanted to buy something a little nicer. My old car was a base model SUV. For my new car, I was hoping to purchase something that had heated seats and a power tailgate. I use my car frequently to travel for sports and haul equipment back and forth. Having a power tailgate seemed useful. We are also trying to start a family, so I was car shopping with that in mind as well. Insurance gave me enough money to use as a down payment on the new car, so I will need to finance. My husband, who is 34 years old and male, started to float the idea of him buying me a car. He drives an older station car, and my car was our weekend car or trip car. I have declined his offer many times because he is really pushing me to buy an electric vehicle. I do not think an electric vehicle is really the right car for me or my needs. I do not want one. I drive long distances, and I do not want the anxiety of having to charge it away from home. I found 2 cars that I liked and went to test drive both of them. I felt like I found my new car and was excited to move forward. My husband gave me this long speech about how he wanted to buy the car for me, and how I did not get a fancy engagement ring or wedding ring. He told me I could get whatever car I wanted, including one of these 2 vehicles. Neither is flashy, but both fit my needs and have those extra features I want. We are not talking about luxury cars. After the test drive, we talked at home and both decided on which of the 2 cars we should get. We were going back to the dealership the next day to test drive it again and move forward. The day of the test drive, my husband called me and said that he made an appointment for us to test drive an electric vehicle at the same time. It was a Chevy Bolt. He said he always wanted to test drive an electric vehicle and that I should go and be open-minded. I obliged and went on the test drive. I did not like the car at all, and the storage space was not what I needed. It is a very small vehicle compared to what I am used to driving. My husband was very excited, and when I expressed my dislike for the car, he told me that I was behaving like a spoiled teenager. I really do not need him to buy me anything. It would be nice to not have a monthly car payment, but this car would likely limit my ability to travel and participate in my sports with friends. I also do not see it being a good option for having a child. Am I the asshole for declining my husband's offer and buying my own car? Nothing you've done here makes me think you are the jerk here. Your husband is more interested in getting himself a new car under the guise of buying you one. It's a classic bait and switch where you'll end up driving his old car while he enjoys the new one. You're absolutely right to stand your ground and choose the car that suits your needs. Am I the jerk for telling my parent to correct their and their spouse's lie to their stepchild, or they can deal with the consequences? My dad remarried when I was 12 years old after the death of my mom. My dad's wife was also a widow and had a 7-year-old daughter at the time. I did not blend the way they wanted me to. I do not hate my dad's wife or stepdaughter, but I never felt a family bond with them. My stepsister can be really sweet. She has also special needs and behaves very young as a result. She struggles to comprehend things the way someone her age, 20, would. Her view of the world is very young. It makes her far easier to manipulate and far easier to upset. There were times when I still lived with them that I had to be extremely careful about the things I talked about because she would get so upset. Movies had to be very happy and cheerful. They could not have death, bullying, or any sarcasm in them because they could really upset her. I am expecting a baby and my stepsister was so excited the last time she saw me. She told me she was so excited for me to have a boy named after her dad. I asked her what she meant and she told me my dad and her mom told her that I was going to name a boy after her dad like I would name a girl after my mom. She told me she hopes I have a boy, and she was so excited and so easily believed that I was going to do that. I mentioned this to my dad, and he sheepishly admitted they had told her that and that they were going to ask me to consider naming a son after my stepsister's dad because it would mean so much to her. I told him I was not going to do that, and he should have known that. He told me they figured, but they also really wanted his stepdaughter to be happy. I spoke to him with his wife present and told him to correct the lie they told, or he can deal with the consequences of not doing so. She told me I would be heartless to deny her daughter this. My dad asked why I would not do it, and I told him because I am not the one who told the lie. I told him the choice was up to him and he can live with the consequences. They said I was blackmailing them and playing games, which was not fair. Am I the asshole? In my opinion, you've done nothing wrong here. You have some very strange parents. Why would you name a child after your dad's wife's ex-husband? It's ridiculous and manipulative for them to expect that. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.